How do you take a pile of old, cupped walnut boards that have been sitting in your shop for 2 years and turn them into this? I'd been wanting a coffee table for this room for a while, but instead of buying one, I thought, let's see if these walnut boards still have a second life in them. Of course, the moment I started, nothing went the way I planned. They were cupped, bowed, twisted, basically everything you don't want for a clean, modern table. But that's what makes this fun. This is the story of how I rescued this lumber, fought through a few surprises, and somehow ended up with a table I'm actually proud to put in my living room. If you've ever looked at a pile of imperfect boards and wondered whether they're worth saving, this build might give you an answer. I finally pulled out those old walnut boards I bought a couple years ago. They've been sitting in the shop long enough. They're beautiful, but yeah, they're cupped, pretty beat up. To save as much material as possible, I decided to cut them in half. Doing it this way lets me flatten less and end up with thicker pieces in the end. I didn't have a strict plan, just a rough sketch of the coffee table with approximate measures I wanted, and the idea that I'd adjust as I go. Which, if you've watched my channel before, you know is pretty normal for me. The table needed to be about 30 inches wide, so that meant 5 boards around 6 inches each. Before anything else, I had to flatten one face on each board. Jointer time. One of the boards was way more bowed than I hoped, so I pushed it to the shorter parts only pile and grabbed a flatter board as a replacement. Then came the edges. I tried doing the classic eye against the fence, O away from the fence routine on the jointer. Usually works great. But I quickly realized it wasn't going to happen unless the top and bottom were already flat. So everything went through the planer first. Right after that, board number 3 showed me a lovely little defect. So that one got retired, and I milled another from scratch. Once all 5 were finally good, I went back to the jointer to clean up the edges. My first idea was to joint all 5 boards at once. That lasted about maybe 10 seconds. Way too heavy, too awkward, and honestly, I don't know what I was thinking. Second attempt, also fail. Big gap between the boards. So I tried jointing two together at once. And nope, the gap actually got bigger. Apparently my joiner is just too small for boards this long. It worked well for shorter boards, but this is pushing its limits. So I switched to a method that almost never fails me, jointing on the table saw. Pair two boards, run the seam through the blade, and get a matching cut. As long as you extend the fence for support, it's super reliable with long boards. With the edges finally behaving, it was time for dowels. I wanted the whole tabletop reinforced, so I marked out 48 dowels and pulled out the Jessam jig. Links in the description. While I'm drilling all these dowel holes, here's a random woodworking truth. You never realize how many clamps, or dowels, you don't have until the exact moment your glue bottle is open and your project is looking at you like, "Good luck, buddy." Honestly, woodworking shops should have warning signs. Objects may require more hardware than expected. And yes, doweling jigs are basically marriage counseling for misbehaving boards. They keep everything aligned, keep things from wandering off, and occasionally keep you from losing your mind. Of course, I didn't have enough dowels, so I made a quick run to the local box store and grabbed more. Then came glue up, and that's when the timer starts ticking. So I brought in my son to help. We worked like a two-man pit crew. Went way faster with 4 hands. There's something special about gluing up a tabletop with your kid. You're trying to stay calm. He's trying not to get glue on the dog. Clamps are falling, boards are shifting, and the glue is drying faster than you can say, "Wait, flip it back." But honestly, moments like that end up being the best part of a project. And yes, he used enough glue for 3 tables. But hey, this one isn't going anywhere. Once that dried, I started fixing the little imperfections. I start with this knot hole. I cleaned it up and cut a walnut patch from some scrap to match the shape. Then I filled any cracks with liquid wood filler. Next phase is the table base. First, I cut a plywood template for the legs. Then I built a dedicated crosscut jig to cut all 4 legs with matching angles and lengths. I actually have a separate video showing how to make this jig. Link in the description. For the base, I need 3 main blocks. 1 board for the legs, 1 board for the central stretcher, and 1 for the smaller braces that connect the legs to that centerpiece. Once those are milled, glued, and cleaned, I started cutting individual parts. I went with a 10-degree angle on each leg, using my crosscut jig. Next, leg stretchers. I think that's the right term. And if I'm wrong, well, welcome to my channel. I cut the ends of the leg stretchers at 45 degrees. Later, I'll glue two together to make a V-shaped brace, and that V will connect to the central stretcher using hidden bolt fasteners. Time to pause the base and return to the tabletop. I need the top perfectly flat so I can measure and build the base precisely. I set a sheet of plywood under the tabletop, installed my flattening rails, and used my slab flattening sled. The plywood helps keep everything extra true and protects my workbench from screws. Flattening is easy with this sled. If you're interested, I have a full video showing how I built it, with links to all the parts, also in the description. The only issue, the tabletop wasn't secured as well as I thought. Some areas had slight movement. If any of you have a good method for locking down tabletops to the flattening bed, something better than screws, I'd love to hear your ideas. There must be anchors or clamps made specifically for this. After flattening both sides, I squared the whole top and trimmed the edges. Now I sand the leg stretchers and glue each pair to form the two V-shaped supports. Next, I filled a couple small gaps left after flattening by combining walnut sawdust with wood glue. Perfect custom filler. Then I sand everything with 120 and again with 240. Now I'm ready to attach the V stretchers to the main central stretcher. I plan to use hidden bolt fasteners, but I don't have a drill press, so all these holes need to be drilled by hand. Accuracy here is critical. And I absolutely messed them up. My straight holes look like they were trying to avoid commitment. A couple millimeters off and the whole system fails. Even being a few millimeters off ruins the whole alignment. So I scrapped that idea and switched to a much simpler and honestly better solution: glue and screws. Since I'm never planning to take these parts apart anyway, this method makes the base much stronger. I plugged the old holes with dowels and prepped everything for assembly. During glue up, one joint shifted slightly. So I took it apart, sanded it, plugged the hole again, drilled a fresh one, and re-glued. Much better the second time. And then, the next morning, I found a big crack in the tabletop. Texas temperatures went crazy overnight, so the wood reacted. Not ideal, but fixable. I filled the crack by injecting glue deep inside using a medical syringe, then clamped the whole top. It worked perfectly. Next, I trimmed the tabletop edges with a 45-degree chamfer bit. Now comes one of the more challenging parts, wood movement. I can't simply glue the tabletop to the base. I need bolts, and those bolts need slotted holes so the top can expand across the grain. So I routed half-inch wide slots into the stretchers using a quick router jig. They're not perfect, not terrible, somewhere in the I can fix that later category. A little chisel work will clean them up. Then I drilled the bolt holes. And the second hole confirmed it. I am terrible at drilling straight by hand. So that was the moment I finally said, enough, time to buy a drill press. While waiting for Amazon to deliver my new toy, I drilled the pocket holes where the legs attached to the stretchers and did some sanding. I also used a half-inch roundover bit to soften the legs. Then more sanding. A few days later, drill press day. Huge upgrade. Drilling is now fast, safe, and straight. Next, I drilled matching holes in the tabletop for the bolts. Everything looked perfect, until I discovered that I drilled straight through the tabletop. Twice! To fix it, I used some walnut plugs left over from an older project. While the glue dried, I attached the legs to the stretchers and did more sanding. Then I revisited the two tabletop holes. One looked clean, the other, not so much. Some chip out, dried glue, ugly edges, so I decided to remake it using a larger plug. I didn't have one, so I made one on the drill press. After that, I sanded the entire top with 400 grit, misted the surface with water to raise the grain, and sanded again with 400. When you wet the surface, those tiny raised fibers show up, and sanding them off makes the finish incredibly smooth. I also plugged pocket holes with dowels. One more hiccup. When I hammered the plug into the tabletop hole, the threaded insert nut beneath the surface pushed upward a bit, so I had to shave it down with a rotary tool. And now, the best part, finish. I used Odie's oil. At the end, I polished the whole tabletop with my orbital polisher. It's one of those final steps that doesn't look dramatic on video, but in person you can feel the surface change instantly. The walnut starts to shine, the grain wakes up, and the whole piece finally feels like a finished piece of furniture. And here it is, the final table. Simple, modern, clean lines. It's the kind of piece that feels like it belongs in the room without trying too hard. If you'd change something in this design or process, or know better ways to achieve any of the steps I shared, tell me in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next build.